guys. Hold on. Okay. I think I've got it. Alright, so earlier today I did a video, and me and my son reviewed the video, and the video, it was okay. But it was basically about the difference in the generation of women today versus the women of yesteryear. So I thought, to be fair, I have to do a video on the difference between today's black men and black men of yesteryear. So I want to start off by giving you guys a little background about my upbringing. My mother was married to my father. He died when I was a baby. So my mom pretty much ended up being a single mother. But my mom worked very hard. She worked 2 and 3 jobs. And because of that, I was actually brought up by my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather. And so a lot of what I know of manhood, I learned from watching my grandfather and watching my uncles and other men in my family, how they behave and how they treat their wives and children. So that is what I'm basing this on. But, you know, a major, oh goodness, what is it with my phone? My phone cannot hold the charge. This happened in the first video. I'm going to try and get through this quick. I like short videos anyway, so we'll make this short. But basically, there's many differences, first of all. And one of the main differences is chivalry. Chivalry is dead. You know, I grew up watching my grandfather pull out the chair for my grandmother, open doors, close doors behind her. He was always the perfect gentleman. He always treated my grandmother, put her up on a pedestal pretty much. And in today's society, you really don't see that as much. There's many reasons for it. Because I'm keeping this video short, I'm not going to get into all those reasons. But that's a major thing. You know, real quickly, I'll say I believe, honestly, a big reason for that is that, you know, a lot of men are confused. When they do try to behave like gentlemen, they don't always get the response that they feel like they deserve. They don't always get appreciated. You know, my brother that just passed away, who was young, he was 25, you know, me and him were talking one day, and he said, Tiffany, you know what, I don't even try anymore. You know, we were brought up old school, so he would open the door for women, old and young, and he said, Tiffany, half the time when I open the door for a woman, you know, she doesn't even say thank you. So why even bother? And honestly, he has a point, and a lot of these young men feel that way, and they have every right. I am so sorry, you guys. My phone cut off on me. So, where were we? Number 2. Okay, so another big difference that I noticed between the men of today versus men that brought me up is that a lot of men today play the blame game. Everything that happens to them in their life, especially if it's negative, is somebody else's fault. It's everybody's fault except theirs. And particularly, it's the black woman's fault. And I just don't remember men of my grandfather's generation, my uncles, I don't remember them ever doing that. Ever. Particularly if you're going to say that you're the head and you're the lead and you're the stronger sex, how could you blame the weaker sex for your woes? It doesn't make sense. Okay, number 3. And all this, some of this stuff really blends together. Not being accountable for their actions. You know, you can't have baby mama issues if you don't make somebody a baby mama. Okay? So you have to, being accountable is like, okay, I chose the wrong person. You know, looking at things for what it is, instead of this fantasy of what you thought it was going to be. Being a grown person about it, accepting reality. Hey, is this chick really the chick that I want to give birth to my child? Do I want just anybody to give birth to my child, or do I want my wife to give birth to my child? And then what kind of woman do I want to be my wife? Instead of making mistakes and then blaming other people for the mistakes you make, not being accountable. Number 4, holding themselves and the people around them, the people in their household, to a certain standard. My grandfather, let me tell you something. My grandmother and my grandfather went through plenty of tough times, but the world didn't know it. Because when they stepped out right. Meaning he always conducted himself as a man. He always looked respectable. His wives, his children were always taken care of. And no matter what was going on financially, the world didn't know about it. He held himself and everybody around him under his roof to a certain standard. And that's something I really don't see the men today doing. Let's see what else. Knowing how to lead. Honestly, I feel like a lot of men, and now a lot of women too, are just confused in their roles. They're just very confused. They don't know how to lead because unfortunately, a lot of them have never had the opportunity to have a leader in their household, to grow up with a man in the house. But even at that, there's a lot of men and women who weren't fortunate enough to be brought up with their parents in the household, but somehow they managed to figure it out. If you're going to be, that's part of being a leader. When you're put in that position of leadership, you've got to know how to catch the baton and carry it through. You figure it out. You figure it out. Okay? But you can't just not step up and say, well, just no one ever taught me, so it's okay if I'm just not there. I'm just absent. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not present. That's not acceptable if you want to call yourself a man. So those are just a few things. And a lot of these deficiencies, women have the same deficiencies. And a lot of deficiencies I was talking about with the women, the men have.